No, so it's 6:30 p.m. The meeting is beginning. Please stand for a salute to the flag and a moment of silence.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Mr. Dietrich,
Here.
Mrs. Donahue, Mr. Elling,
Present.
Mr. Johnson,
Here.
Mr. Knopf,
Here.
Mr. Koch,
Present.
Ms. Lynch,
Here.
Mr. Scholes,
Present.
and Mrs. Smith. Here. 8 members present.
Thank you. Let's see, no presentation for tonight, I don't think. All right. Next up is hearing of visitors. Any visitors? No. All right. Next up is the superintendent's report.
Thank you. From Sunday afternoon through Tuesday morning, our instructional administrative team attended the Learning Summit 2023. That summit was hosted jointly by the PA Principals Association and the PA Superintendents Association. We heard updates from PDE leaders regarding the budget, some other regulations and things that are going on. We also heard from 2 uplifting and informative keynote speakers. Hamish Brewer, author of Relentless, Changing Lives and Disrupting the Educational Norm. Everybody got his book for attending the conference. And we also heard from Dr. Quentin Shepard, the author of The Secret to Transformational Leadership, and then we received that book as well. Everyone who attended, there were 16 of us total. I was also a co-presenter with Director of IU10, Dr. Francine Endler. We did a mini session intended for superintendents and assistant superintendents on the topic of teaching, learning, and the superintendency. It was the same presentation we did back in the fall for the new Superintendents Academy, and it was we were requested to kind of do it again for this professional development time. This was really valuable time for us to learn together and build team member relationship, especially with our 4 new administrators, the principals and assistant principals. I also learned while I was there that we have board member Jeff Johnson. Congratulations for being elected to president of the IU10 Board of Directors.
Thank you.
And also I know our board is familiar with Jeff Wall, who was elected to be the vice president of the IU10 board.
Cool.
Lastly, today I hosted a luncheon for our summer workers, including custodians, maintenance staff, cafeteria, and secretaries. This is something we do each year in August. And the meal was prepared for by our cafeteria staff and held in the Central Mountain Middle School cafeteria. Thank you again to all of the staff who are helping us prepare to open our doors for yet another school year. And speaking of another school year, we are getting ready to welcome the new kindergarten class of 2036. And the first day for staff will be August 24th, and the first day for all students will be August 30th. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Questions? Nope. Next up is a committee report, policy committee.
Yes. We had a rather short agenda. We met yesterday, which is the second Wednesday of the month, as we had planned to meet. And policy 101 and policies 102 were passed to come to this meeting with first reading. Policy 103 with some slight changes was passed to come to the first reading. 104, which deals with discrimination policies. We put that on hold, tabled it to the next committee meeting, which would be the second Wednesday in September. And then there was the policy on naming rights we decided to table that to next month's meeting. A lot of discussion going on back and forth. Should we have a standing committee to deal with that? Should we only have a committee as needed? What if somebody requests to name something? And we decided to table that and bring it up at the next committee meeting. Can anyone who was present, can you add anything that I missed? I'm sure I did miss something.
I don't think so, Wayne. I missed the first couple minutes, so unless there was something before I got there.
No, and our intention is to just continue to work on the naming rights policy and bring that back. Joni and I did have a chance to kind of review the samples that Elizabeth was able to put together. And so we're still just working on condensing it into one version and common language throughout.
Okay, that's the committee report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right. I think the rest of the carryovers from last week.
Yeah, Mr. President,
Mhm.
I'd like to move the agenda with the exception of anything that anyone needs pulled.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
Second, okay.
I think we need to pull G3 because David has been added to the conference. I think so. I'm not sure though. And J1 personnel changed a little bit, right, from the work session?
Well, you don't have to pull
You
them
don't have
if
to
there were
pull it.
changes. You only have to pull them if you would like additional discussion.
Okay, no discussion. I just want to make, okay.
And we
just wanna make
did
sure. Thank
mention
you.
last week that David would be added.
Right.
We
So
talked
that
about
shouldn't
that.
be a
Just want
surprise.
to make sure. Okay, thank you.
So you're saying you don't want to pull
Oh,
G3?
no, I was
Okay.
wrong.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else want anything pulled?
So there's nothing that needs pulled.
No, no problem.
That's it.
That's a first.
Very
No.
unusual.
All right.
Something's wrong here.
Well,
Tell me about it, Wayne.
this would not be something to be pulled, but just the one thing I did want to note, I mentioned this to board members in an email when you got an update on the personnel agenda. We did receive a late resignation for a math teacher, and you have given me the authority to appoint a teacher.
Right.
We've advertised for that. We do have applicants and we're setting up interviews. Again, it's timely, so I do anticipate that I will need to appoint a math teacher prior to our next meeting.
Okay,
It's fine.
that'll work.
Let's hope you can find one.
Okay, so I think roll call. Vote.
Mr. Dietrich,
Yes,
Mrs. Donahue absent. Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes,
Mr. Knopf,
Yes,
Mr. Coke,
Yes,
Ms. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
and Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
8 yes votes, motion passes.
all right,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
okay.
wow.
I'll second.
All right.
Second.
That has to
Second.
be-
6:39 PM, meeting is adjourned.
And
that
if
has to be
the-
the quickest meeting I've ever attended.
And I've
Wow.
asked the president and vice president for an executive session following this meeting.